What's up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or, of course, if you are watching on our fast-growing YouTube channel, that is Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner. Joining me, as he always does, for a THI podcast, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And, AJ, another look-ahead podcast we're coming at him with today, looking ahead to Carolina's next two games coming up this weekend, first with FSU on Saturday, 2 p.m. tip-off in Chapel Hill. And we're also, while we're here, why not, AJ? Let's look ahead to next Wednesday, matchup with Pittsburgh and Chapel Hill. That's an 8 p.m. tip on Wednesday night. So great opportunities for Carolina coming up. We'll talk about that here in a second. Before we do, I want to give a quick shout out, if I can get that word out, to our podcast sponsor, Rogue Apothecary, specializing top shelf family grown hemp products. So whatever you're into, Delta 8, CBDs, oils, gummies, tinctures, whatever form you like to consume it in, you can check them out at Rogue Apothecary. Check out their website below. Link is in the description. Make sure you use the promo code TARHEELS10 to save as well. And AJ, I need you to plug their products as well, because I got some coming soon, hopefully. But I know you've used it, a couple other staff members. I know you can vouch for it pretty well too. Yeah,
I need to tell. I'm taping something with them tomorrow, actually. So I need to tell Richard to send you a little sample pack.
Yeah, tell me you send me a little sample pack.
Yeah, I'm a terrible sleeper. I mean, I'm a horrible sleeper, especially in season from the 1st of August through late April. My wedding anniversary is April 23rd. So that's around the time when I start to disconnect a little bit, when I get all that off-season stuff done. I'm a horrible sleeper, but every once in a while, a little of that CBD oil into the tongue, man. And if it could put AJ to sleep, it could put anybody to sleep.
Yeah, you're not lying about that, man. That's the only plug you need right there from AJ. And like I said, a couple other of our staff members are using it as well and saying really good things about it. So check them out, Rogue Apothecary. Like I said, link to the website in the description. Make sure you use that promo code TARHEELS10 to save. All right, AJ, let's dive into these matchups. We'll start with Florida State and coming up on Saturday. Like I said, Seminoles currently sitting at 13-10, 6-7 in ACC play. Ton of injuries for the Seminoles over there. I mean, it just goes without saying the amount of injuries that they've suffered. Like you said, 3 starters out for the season, got some reserves as well that are banged up and out too. So it's just a tough situation for Florida State right now. They have some decent wins this year. Let's not get it twisted. They have won some good games this year and obviously lost some that they probably would like to have back. But I think looking at this Florida State roster, it's still a very talented team. There's a couple guys on that roster in particular that I know Carolina would love to have based on how good they are. So Carolina sitting at 17-7, 9-4 in ACC play. Before we dive into Florida State, I know I've already ran through them. Let's look back a little bit as well. What is your kind of thoughts about Carolina coming off their past couple games, went over Clemson, lost to Duke? What's kind of your thoughts about Carolina heading into that Florida State game on Saturday afternoon?
Well, the number one thing I've said lately, and I know this isn't exactly earth-shattering stuff. I'm not splitting the atom here. They just got to get wins. That's kind of what they've done. They beat Boston College. They weren't that impressive, but they got the win. They beat Virginia Tech, not that impressive, got the win. Against NC State, they were impressive. State is falling down a mountain right now. Wolfpack are spiraling big time, and the Tar Heels shot great that day. And then they go to Louisville. They have to beat a team in overtime that is, again, falling apart. It's kind of the theme in the ACC. There's a lot of teams in the ACC that normally you would be like finishing last place.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
So, and a lot of them Carolina played lately. One of them was the other night. Clemson didn't, Louisville didn't have their best player, Malik Williams. Clemson didn't have one of their best players, Hunter Tyson, who I think would have created some matchup problems. I think dealing with PJ Hall would have been more challenging with Hunter Tyson to also deal with. So, but Carolina got the win. They didn't blow out Virginia Tech, who is starting to play better now. Didn't blow out Boston College, didn't blow out Louisville, didn't blow out Clemson, but they won. And I guess one of the missing links for this team, at least missing things on its resume, was showing they could win close games, and they did that. And I know people say, oh, you can't really grow when you beat bad teams. I still think you can grow. You got a first-year coach, and you've got a team that has dramatically changed here in the last few weeks because no Dawson Garcia, no Anthony Harris. So they had to learn with this Iron Five to play a lot. Hubert is trying to give some reserve guys spots. I think people say, why didn't he play the bench that much more? Well, let's face it, Justin McCoy struggled some lately. Dontrez Styles, I think, is a wonderful talent. He looks the part, but he's maybe not 100% ready. Puff's coming off that injury. He hadn't played a whole lot the last couple of years, and he'd given them some energy. I kind of was surprised he didn't play until the last 3 seconds of the game the other night. but they're not going to get a whole lot off the bench that they're not already getting from the starters. So they've had to learn how to become this team this way, and they've done it winning games other than the Duke game. So I think that those are positives, and they have to continue that over their next 2 games. And these are both games that they should win. And quite frankly, they should win convincingly. I love Leonard Hamilton as a coach. When I used to cover the league as a whole, when I was at the Star News, and especially when I was at Fox, I love dealing with Leonard Hamilton. I had some great conversations with Leonard. He's a wonderful guy. He's got a lot of terrific thoughts about the game and about various things about college athletics in general. And he's a really, really good coach. Last year, Roy was pitching for Leonard to make the College Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that'll eventually come. When you're a 2 seed at Miami and a 2 seed at Florida State, that's doing something if you look at the histories of those 2 programs. But unfortunately, he's lost a lot of key players. He still has Raekwon Evans. He still has Caleb Wells. Matthew Cleveland's a guy that Carolina recruited pretty hard for a while. So he's got talent. They still use depth. They had 4 guys off the bench against Pitt Wednesday night that played at least 15 minutes. So he's going to roll dudes in there. So they're going to try to wear down Carolina. But Carolina has to play well. They cannot disrespect them because they lost to Pittsburgh. So, and I know you want to jump more into stuff, but let me throw this out there as well.
Yeah.
In the 6 games before Osborne was hurt and they lost him for the year, they won 6 straight. All right. One of those wins was at Syracuse. And I don't care if Syracuse, although they play a little better now, it's still still a tough place to win. They beat Miami twice by a point. They had the fiber to win both those games by a point. They also beat Duke. But since the injury started happening, they've lost 5 straight, including to Pitt the other night.
5 straight games, yeah.
But they're going to play with spirit. They're going to defend. They're going to play with energy. And if the Tar Heels aren't ready to play, it's going to be a challenge. So Carolina needs to show up ready to go.
They do. Yeah, they do. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, moving forward, because we'll hit on Pitt a little bit later. And I do kind of want to tie these in a little bit together, because I think these are 2 similar games in which, in terms of what Carolina has to do to win. I'll save that for the kind of last thing I want to ask you. But yeah, I mean, you just look at Florida State's injury record this year, and it's just unbelievable. The amount of guys, I was actually reading a piece before I came on here, and just the amount of guys that are either suffering injuries, out for the season with an injury, whatever it may be. The list just continues to go on and on. I know the most recent one being Anthony Polite. He suffered an injury falling to the floor in a recent game, averaged 10 points a game, 5.5 rebounds per as well. So, the injuries keep piling up for Florida State. It's unfortunate for them, like I said. But I think when you look at these 2 games, AJ, in terms of what Carolina must do to win it, I think it kind of goes hand in hand. These are 2 teams you would expect Carolina to win. These are 2 games that Carolina should win. And I'll give credit to Carolina this year. Every tough opponent, for lack of a better word, they played, they've kind of been ran out of the gym in most every of those games. But in terms of teams that they should beat, and I would even, there was a point where I'd throw Notre Dame in this as well, but at Notre Dame, they're leading the conference right now. I guess I can't really put them in this. Every game that Carolina's played in terms of opponents that they should win, they have won. And you got to give Carolina the credit to that. The only thing, like I said, is the caveat is the way in which they've lost the games they have to, quote unquote, the good teams that they have played. But I think when you look at these 2 games, I think if Carolina just focuses on Carolina, plays like they can, limits turnovers, gets out in transition when they can, even though this is not a team that does that very much, hit shots from the outside. This is a jump shooting team. Hubert Davis has said that. He's going to continue to preach on that. They've got to continue to hit shots. If Armando Bacot can continue to play like he can play, I think if Carolina just focuses on them and takes care of business internally, it'll show externally in the win column. Because like you said, Pittsburgh's a struggling team, 9-16 on the year, 4-10 in the ACC. Florida State's going through a lot right now, 5 straight losses, like you mentioned about them as well. So I think it's 2 really good opportunities for the Tar Heels, but they don't show up if they're not ready to play. These could be 2 battles, and potentially could be losses for the Tar Heels as well.
Yeah, I still think they should have won at Notre Dame. I think they're more talented than Notre Dame. I think they have the components to beat Notre Dame on the road, especially because Caleb said after that game that they didn't take him seriously. They took him lightly because they'd lost to Boston College, without giving any thought to the fact they had also beaten Kentucky, which just wiped the floor with Carolina 10 days earlier. So, and that speaks to your point, Jacob. They have to be in the right mindset. If they go to the Dean Dome Saturday afternoon and Wednesday night with the right mindset, they're not going to lose those games.
No.
And I just think that that's half the battle for this club. they didn't have the right mindset in Coral Gables. And if they had the right mindset in Winston-Salem, which I thought that they did, they didn't handle being punched very well. We saw that against Duke. I think they had people say, oh, Hubert didn't have them ready to play. I don't think they were ready to play. They just got clobbered and didn't know how to get up off the mat. So they just laid there. And I don't mean that disparagingly. It's just, but Leakey said it. When they get punched, they don't punch back. That's what I'm talking about. So, but against these two teams, with what FSU is lacking, and they're still playing a lot of depth, it's amazing. Leonard just can play his bench. Guys that are in the rotation now, one of them wasn't even in the rotation in November. So he wasn't, you never thought about, well, you got a plan for that guy. I guarantee you the first 18 teams on their schedule didn't plan and didn't scout some of the guys that they're playing now, but they've still got good players out there. They got good athletes out there. They got a good system. They got a good foundation. They have a good culture. They have a terrific head coach. So if Carolina isn't ready to play, they can lose that game. I think Pitt, there's a little bit more room for error because Pitt's a mess. Although credit Jeff Capel or Capel for Jeff Capel. Yes, excuse me. Because when I think of the Capel, they're both Capels are there. Jason's there as well. And I was telling somebody a story about Jason Capel before the Elite Eight game against Oklahoma in 2009. I told that story like an hour and a half ago. So I've got Jason on my mind. And yes, he was there. And sidebar, he was there. And I asked him, since I brought it up, I was walking by him I was on press row and he was in the first row of the stands. And I covered him when he was at Carolina. I stopped talking to him for a second. I said, so who are you rooting for? And he says, blood is thicker than school colors. Because his brother was the head coach in Oklahoma at the time. So that I told that story an hour and a half ago. That's what I thought of him. But, Jeff's done a nice job keeping this team together. Mm-hmm. They're periodically winning some games. They've been pretty competitive. They just don't have horses. He's lost a lot of guys. My understanding is that he's in big trouble. But, maybe some of the guys he lost were guys he needed to lose. I mean, that program's had some issues. And I don't know all the inside details of what was going on there, but he's probably in a little bit of trouble right now. But I hate to use this trite cliche, a feather in his cap is that those guys keep playing hard. I was watching them against Florida State the other night, and I'm like, man, they're playing hard. They're getting back in transition on defense, not like a team that's 8-16. No. They're getting back in transition like a team that's trying to make the NCAA tournament. So if they bring that spunk Wednesday night, Carolina's going to have some spunk too. I do think there's more room for error simply because they're not as talented as FSU, even though they wanted FSU the other night and really hamstrung FSU offensively. But I think you're right. The next two games, this is about Carolina being Carolina. Dean Smith used to say, we don't worry too much about the other teams. We just got to focus on being us. And Roy wouldn't even bother talking about the next opponent till the day before a game. I think Hubert kind of looks at the next opponent a little bit longer. But I think this is a situation where Carolina has to be the best they can be and not worry about anything else on Saturday and do the same thing Wednesday. And they'll be 19-7 when they go to Blacksburg, which is going to be a big game because the Hokies are trending in the right direction and creeping toward being on that tournament line. And so they're going to need, that could be one of those games that, hey, loser doesn't make the tournament if the Hokies keep winning. So get these 2 W's, get the 19 wins, and then see where they are when they go to Blacksburg. Yeah,
a lot of must wins coming up for Carolina in a lot of ways. It's
every game's a must win.
Yeah, it's position they're in right now. Yeah,
they're a bubble team, and a lot of people think they're on the wrong side of the bubble. I saw a tweet the other night from some basketball site. It's not one I frequent. I can't remember the name of it, but they actually were tweeting out their daily update of the NIT brackets, the seeding, and they had Carolina as their 1 seed in the NIT. And I thought, they're 17-7. In any other universe, that would be insane. But the universe that Carolina is operating in right now is a wretched ACC, which is, Ken Palm has the ACC as the number 6 conference behind the West Coast Conference.
I believe it.
Behind St. Mary's and San Diego, the Toreros, behind Loyola Marymount and that crowd, Portland, the Pilots. That league's rated higher than the ACC right now, I believe. So I know that the Jeff Goodmans of the world think it's a better league than the ACC. So they just got to win games, man. There's no room for error. Get better, win games, make having the right mindset a habit, which they can help get closer to achieving these next 2 games, and then see what they do. Take care of business from there.
Yeah, I mean, both in Chapel Hill, which obviously should bear well for the Tar Heels. It's a place they've had a lot of success this year, barring the Duke performance last weekend. But yeah, AJ, I think it's a good place to wrap this one up as well. I think you take care of business. You just got to keep winning games if you're Carolina. If you want to make the NCAA tournament, you just got to keep winning. And it's just what it comes down to. It's
and Caleb has to come out of it. And Caleb has to start making shots. I mean,
absolutely.
That's one of his responsibilities. He's got to make shots. He's been 26% the last 8 games. Inside the arc, he's at 23% the last 8 games. So he's got to hit shots, period. Hit enough shots early so he doesn't have to step up and make plays late.
Yeah, exactly. To put himself in a situation like they did at Clemson. Well, great play by him. And like I said, great play by Brady Manick as well. And credit to Carolina.
Same thing at Louisville. He was 3 for 18 at Louisville, but he hit the first 3 in overtime. So, okay, we've seen that he can step up. He's seen that he doesn't get defeated during the course of the game when he's not playing well. Hit some shots earlier, and they don't need him to make those plays late.
Absolutely. Absolutely. AJ, good place to wrap this one up. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Like we blasted earlier, make sure you check out Rogue Apothecary. Use that promo code TARHEELS10. Link to their website is in the description below. And make sure you keep it locked to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm going to keep saying it. You hit the link in the description below. You can sign up to be a premium member for just $8.33 a month. And I know every day is a great time to do it, but it really, really is a great time to do it this year. A ton of football recruiting news. Dean has been all over that. Carolina basketball season thick and fast. We go where the Tar Heels go, so we're everywhere that they are at every single game. If you want access to premium articles, if you want access to our premium message boards, our live game chats, you got to sign up to be a part of our awesome community at TarHeelIllustrated.com. So like I said, hit that link in the description below when this one's done and sign up for just $8.33 a month. You guys know the drill. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell as well so you know every single time we upload, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.